Hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of ARNECC Paper Talks. ARNECC Paper Talks is a regular discussion among scholars about the published papers and articles on energy and climate change in Southeast Asia. In this opportunity, ASEAN Researchers Networks on Energy and Climate Change, or ARNECC, is a group of scholars, analysts, researchers, students, and other stakeholders that organized around the themes of energy studies and research, and also climate studies or research in Southeast Asia. Established by the ASEAN Climate Change and Energy Project, or ACCEPT, my name is Indira, Associate Research Analyst of ACCEPT, will lead the discussion for today's event. So everyone, in this special episode, we will discuss a journal entitled Net Zero Energy Transition in ASEAN Countries. The evolutionary model brings novel perspectives to the cooperative mechanism of climate governance. In this opportunity, we are very excited to have Dr. Lingfei Weng and Ms. Yang Hu to be our panelists for today's session. Beforehand, I would like to have a short introduction of themselves. Dr. Weng completed her doctoral degree through the Development Practice Program at James Cook University, Australia. Her research focuses on sustainable development of developing countries and green development of Belt and Road initiatives in Africa and Southeast Asia. She has published more than 20 academic articles on the peer-reviewed international journals, collaborating with researchers from around the world. In addition, she also supervises doctorate and master's students working on climate governance, sustainable infrastructure, construction, environmental conservation, and sustainability. What is the special thing about this ARNECC Paper Talks is we have two speakers. The other speakers, Ms. Yang Hu, is a graduate student of Dr. Weng that is currently studying at Chongqing University. With similar interests with Dr. Weng, Ms. Hu has published 2 papers on environmental governance in developing countries in international journals since 2023. One of the articles expressed her views on ASEAN energy transition and climate cooperation. Since ACCEPT project is circulating around the energy climate nexus in ASEAN, I believe Dr. Weng and Ms. Hu is the most suitable speakers that could share their perspectives on ASEAN energy and climate, and also sharing some suggestions to move towards the future of net zero of ASEAN countries. So hello, Dr. Weng and Ms. Hu.
Hello, Indira.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for
Very
the
good.
invitation.
Yeah, great to hear that. So, are you in China right now?
Yes, we are in China, but in different cities.
Oh, great,
Yes,
great.
yeah, before, yeah.
Okay, so after this, I will give the stage to you. And are you ready for the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
ready.
great. Okay, great. Then I will share my screen, and both of the speakers will share or present accordingly. So everyone, please enjoy. And if you have any question, please also directly ask to the question and answer section under the Zoom panel. So I will share the screen.
All right.
Dr. Weng, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So it's is it blank of the presentation? The title? Okay, cool. Yeah. So let me just find the cool. So thank you for the introduction and invitation from Indira. It's our great pleasure to be here to present our most recent research outcomes related to net zero energy transition in ASEAN countries. So before I start my presentation, I would like to have a little bit more background introduction of our research team. As Indira introduced before, we will have two speakers. One is myself and another is my students. And so our research team currently are based in Chongqing University in China, and mostly are my PhD students and master students, but we maintain our international collaboration with these universities and research institutions around the world, mostly from UK, Australia, Canada, and also from Southeast Asia, from Indonesian university, and some are from Africa. So over the past more than 10 years, most of our research focus on the sustainable development of Southeast Asia and Africa. And we have been to these countries for field investigations and data collections related to natural resource management and the infrastructure constructions and livelihoods, poverty reduction. So I'd like to welcome this audience and wish we could maintain this collaboration in the future. If there's any audience, including India, are interested in our research themes, and we will have some more like this in-depth research, particularly focusing on ASEAN, like Indonesia, and also the African countries in East African and Central Africa. So again, it's our great pleasure to be here to present and share our research results. Hopefully, there will be some aspiration to this audience for their research in the future. So the title for this article is as presented here: Net Zero Energy Transition in ASEAN Countries. Evolutionary Model Bring the Novel Perspectives to Cooperative Mechanism of Climate Governance. And my student is a leading author under supervised by me. The abstract is as showed here, like they give some information why we start work on the net zero in ASEAN countries. And as this Paris Agreement was adopted in 2015, and they have this proposal to the target of this limiting the global warming to well below a rise of 2 degrees, but more than most of these member states around the world signed this agreement, but they still have a lot of these controversial and disagreements when it's really put into implementation in different parts of the world, specifically in different countries. So regarding to the ASEAN and all these, I think ASEAN, Indonesia and other countries are very active and willing to participate in this net zero or Paris Agreement and take action, but little by far is low about when and how the countries could reach the net zero emission goal specifically as agreed in Paris agreements. So this study, so can you move to the background slide, Indira? Yeah, so the background showed the ASEAN is one of the most climate vulnerable regions. I still would like to take Indonesia as a case study because we did some work before. Indonesia has a 4th largest population around the world and the 3rd tropical rainforests, as well as they are climate vulnerable regions because they're very unique geographical locations, island country. So of course, the other ASEAN countries also have this kind of climate issues or these carbon emission, but also there is a strong lead or willingness for these countries to promote their economic growth. So how they transform the economy into more sustainable or green, as well as like the enhance the economic growth in the meantime, because I think it's a common challenge among all the different countries, of course, in Southeast Asia and Africa. So there are vast research have been done to prove the energy innovation contribute to the environmental sustainability and can drive the economic growth in the long term. And this result has been done by many academic research papers, and also this energy transition, net zero emission has been agreed and promoted at global initiatives in different like the conferences, COP26, COP28. Like we always sign a lot of the agreements, and most of these countries, member states of the United Nations, agree on that. But the action becomes challenging to do some real work or to make some real change in the countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, ASEAN, and the others. So most studies don't consider the implication of the scheme, as we wrote up in this paper, under the net zero goal. And also there are large gaps in global climate governance that hinder cooperation between the countries. That's another issues we raised up in our article, the cooperation mechanism of the climate governance, internal and external. The internal means how they reach the agreements and establish the effective climate governance among these 10 countries in ASEAN, and also considering, for example, China becomes the leading or the largest trading partner of ASEAN countries. So there are so many investments and trading overseas from China, Japan, Korea, and other Europe or US. So externally, how ASEAN could to negotiate or collaborate or coordinate with the other outsiders, considering the investments coming, the mining companies, the logging companies, and etc. So there is a dilemma of the climate governance, internal and externally. And the gap between the rhetoric and action suggests that further exploration is urgently needed. So that is the general background of our article, coming from why as a Chinese scholars like myself and my students, we become more interested in the net zero or carbon emission energy transition in ASEAN, actually not in ASEAN, in Africa, and now more and more scholars or international communities also very interested in how to transform their economy to more green, considering they have this kind of a trade-off between economic growth and green development. So that's why in this paper, we take ASEAN countries as a case study of the regions to try to have some exploration in terms of the model or the solution which might be offered to policymakers or to discuss with other scholars to see if there's some innovative strategies could be lifted out to help the goal be achieved by 2015. So that's okay. So the next slide will be the structure of our papers. Basically, there are 6 sections in the whole article, but the main contents are in 3 parts. The first is we systematically analyze the drivers of carbon emissions in ASEAN over the past 30 years from 1990 to 2020 using this data from the World Bank. And also we give the overview of the past literatures which have been done related to these issues. And then second, we use machine learning models. There are 3 different models being utilized in this article to estimate the clean energy demand to achieve the net zero goal in 2 scenarios, kind of like forecasts considering, different the factors, variables to give some like predictions. So the third part will be innovative, explore the evolutionary model of the ASEAN carbon emissions to propose coordinated initiative among the countries for global climate governance from the perspective of we propose like this kind of evolutionary model. So that's basically our outline of this paper. And Hu Yang will give us more details in terms of methodology, result analysis, and the conclusions. So I will give this to Hu Yang, and she will present the next slides. Thank you. Hu Yang.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wang. Now I will introduce the methodology, the results, and the conclusions of the paper to you. In general, 4 methods were used in our paper. And firstly, we used a simple statistical method to analyze the spatial and the temporal variations of ASEAN's carbon emissions. And we also used some mathematics and algorithmic models like LMDI, ARIMA, and random forest. The LMDI model can help us to explore the driven factors, and then we use the random forest, a very popular machine learning model. We used this model to predict the ASEAN's future energy needs, and it was mentioning that our projections are based on the 2 scenarios. In those scenarios, the population and the economy factors were both set to grow at a historical pace. So theoretically, our predictions is fair and just for ASEAN countries. And at last, we used the ARIMA model. The ARIMA model can be used to investigate the growth patterns of the historical carbon emissions. And we show the data source, the links below in this slide. And okay, please play the next slide, Indira. Yeah, based on those above methods, we get some results and the conclusion. The figure 1 shows the long-term change of the carbon emission in the 10 countries in the Southeast Asia from the 1990 to 2020. And the panel A shows the carbon emission of the carbon shows the carbon emission from a spatial perspectives, and the panel B shows from a temporal perspective. We are so sorry to find that the carbon emission were growing steadily in almost all the countries, with Indonesia being the most pronounced. And Yeah, although some other countries, such as Singapore, their carbon emissions have been growing very slowly during the past 3 decades. Their per capita emissions have exceeded the world average level, which means quite high, and we can find this in the Pedal Sea. Okay, so please next. Yep, in this slide, we find some new results. From the figure 2, we find that the population and the economy and the technology and other aspects are the driven factors of the carbon emission in ASEAN. And only in a few small states can we find that in some more technological advanced countries, such as Singapore and Thailand, the technology factor leads to the reduction of the carbon emission. And the figure 3 has presented the future trends of the carbon emission under the 2 scenarios. And the first scenario is the BAU scenario, which means the ASEAN countries do not make any new policies or make new actions to resolve or to tackle the climate change. And everything would go as usual. And the second scenario is the optimistic scenario. That means ASEAN countries may do some new policies and actions to enable the energy transition and to make the net zero goal. To achieve the net zero goal. So from our result, based on the assumption that the development of the population and the economy does not slow down, each country in ASEAN needs to reduce fossil energy consumption by about 21.79% every 5 years. I think it's very difficult challenge and requires our effort as soon as possible. And please next slide. And the last result is finished by the ARIMA model. So based on the ARIMA model, based on the calculus, we divided the ASEAN countries into 4 categories, and their trends are in line with the S-shaped curve. And we believe that the country's carbon emission would follow this mold and go through the process from the first stage to the last stage. So if we could promote the ASEAN countries go through the S-curve quickly, we might quickly achieve the net zero target. And it is worth mentioning that since most underdeveloped countries are still in the initial stages, that's leading to a increasing of the carbon emission in the future. Yep, please next to the slide. In the conclusion, we would like to highlight the following 3 points, and the first of which is that in terms of measures, we suggest that ASEAN countries should actively share information of green energy development. Specifically, we suggest that ASEAN countries could hold some experience exchange meetings or some youth educational activities and so on. I think young people are the hope of the future, and the main beneficiaries of the future climate governance. So maybe we could do or hold some more global use activities to help to exchange the information and raise the environmental awareness internationally. And it is also important to enhance the national capacity, I think. We can learn energy transition experience through the personnel visits, and maybe we could accelerate the development of the information technology, or we could build a green manufacturing system, I think. So lastly, we suggest that ASEAN countries could build an energy infrastructure connectivity. Not only will this save the resources, but it will also help to advance the energy transition, I think. And secondly, the second point is that we believe that the international solidarity is also crucial in tackling the climate governance. ASEAN countries need to act together and strengthen cooperation. Otherwise, the climate governance will be out of reach. And finally, I should say there are some limits in this study, in this paper. We haven't been able to explore the more comprehensive influencing factors, which can be the direction that we can study in the future. That is all of my sharing. So I will deliver to Dr. Weng, and she will give some policy implications.
Okay, so yeah, so I will wrap it up with policy implications. This is also the task assigned by Indira. Yeah, because we submit our presentation, and she suggested maybe you can have some like policy perspective towards how we could achieve the energy transition and also the target of net zero by 2050. I think it's really, really good question and very challenging for just, very thin research we have done using just the models to do some like forecasts of the scenarios. But anyway, we still tried to bring some policy implications after the specific this research, and combined with our previous studies based on the mineral extraction, infrastructure constructions in and also the environmental governance in African and Southeast Asia from our research team. So I think the fact is there is the governance dynamo existed in this era, not just climate and biodiversity conservation. It seems that from very, very top global level, there is agreement reached by these member states from the governments, but this cannot be done only, relied on the government side. Even I'm from the School of Public Policy Administration. Because of that, we realized that it's like a multi-stakeholder negotiation and coordination. So there is a governance dilemma in terms of the institutions and like these capacity buildings, and also the conflicts or the there are some like the differences among the countries, among the stakeholders, and among the players. So for this research, particularly the international energy innovation assistance, like this technology or the digitalization, might be or could be one of these tools, one of the tools to tackle this energy transition for these developing countries, mostly, of course, in Southeast Asia. Yeah, because as far as I know, Indonesian government is also catching up to promote the manufacturing industry, taking the advantage of the 4IR, that is the fourth industrial revolution. So there are a lot of advanced technology can be, utilized in the economy transition, of course, the energy transition. But the problem now is the costs and the maturity of the technology. Are they really ready to be, applied extensively across the country or across the world? So, but anyway, the technology, the technical transfer, and the capacity building, or the human source training, or could be, helpful for to transform the economy to more sustainable way in the long term. And the second is regional collaborative governance, both internal and external of ASEAN. As I have mentioned in the beginning, as we can see, these 10 countries in ASEAN community, each country will have their own national development plans, and each country are also in their own development stages. So there are some country like Singapore is the leading economy in terms of the individual GDP, but Indonesia is the largest economy in terms of their scales and the populations. And also Laos is inland country, so they have also some urgency to how can connect with the other countries to have some more the freedom or the connection with the other ASEAN and China or other neighboring countries. So the regional collaborative in external, as Hu Yang also mentioned, the ASEAN has to act together to be solidarity to tackle the challenges, and also from externally, from the investments like China, Japan, or Korean, they all have these. They are also interested in investing in these economies. I have just been to Indonesia in December, 2 months ago, and I visited the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway. I took it, and I went through the whole, the areas where many automobile industries are located. That's a new industrial areas designed, planned by the Indonesian government. And I went to the industry park invested by Japanese, and some are by the Chinese. So considering there will be more investments from the outsiders, like investors, and they are seeking the opportunities to for commercial profits. I think it's good for the country, for the provide more job opportunities and to drive their economy. But in the meantime, there will be the issues of these energy consumption, like others economy different model will be sustainable, or they will be still consumed by large amount of these fossil fuels. So I think that's the another issues. And also, for example, Indonesia has the largest of these mining sites to produce the nickel, right? There are several industrial parks located in different islands in Indonesia. They are producing, some of them from China, producing these nickel minerals. And now the government also try to, to processing with these minerals and be put into these energy sustainable clean energy use. So, but also there will be many issues and problems related to that, and how we solve this problem. Like, there will be some like a chain problems raised out from the mineral extraction. And third is multi-stakeholder negotiation and coordination, as I have mentioned. Like it cannot be just done by the government. The governance is not the government problem or government topic. There will be have the investors, the public civil societies, and the local communities, and also the like us, academia, and also the commercial investors from Indonesia and outside. So that's the multi-stakeholders, how to give the trade-off among all these interests from the different stakeholders perspectives. That's another issues we have to consider and focus on if we make the policy for energy transition. So the fourth, it's least but not the last, the public awareness towards to sustainable energy transition. As Hu Yang mentioned, I think why I ask the Indira to put my students here to engage and interact with the audience, because I think they are the future generation. And also, I guess there are many young audience here, like my student. So I think we have to raise up these awareness from the young generation towards their knowledge, their behaviors, and to make them understand how important the environmental sustainability and how we could achieve this sustainability target by changing our behaviors in daily time. So I think four of these policy implications are important and have to be addressed in the future to guide or navigate the policymakers to consider their energy transition policy making. So that's basically our final conclusion. And the next slide, please, Indira. Yeah, is the annex. So we just have a quick look of this annex. If everyone is interested in knowing more about the data source, just please go to download this article, and this has to be attached in the end of that article. So if there's any difficulty to access to the article, just contact us or Indira, and we can share. We are happy to share the article, the full length of the article to all of the audience. So maybe later we will forward it to Indira, and she could help us to send it to all of the audience here if it's helpful. So thank you again. Yeah. So we have done our presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Weng and Ms. Hu Yang, for the very insightful presentation. So if I can summary, actually the most impacted or significant effect of why carbon emission has increased gradually for these past years is because of the population and economic situation, and also the technology perspective on how each country mitigates or reducing its carbon emissions. And I think it is also interesting where we all need to empower or strengthen regional collaboration to achieve the net zero emission target that has been determined by each country in ASEAN region especially. So everyone, if you are having some questions regarding the research or studies, please kindly put your question on the chat box, or you can also raise your hand and we will allow you to ask the question. But beforehand, I have some questions from my side that might be interesting to be discussed more with our experts here. So, the first question, it is regarding on the climate governance itself, because you mentioned that political and also policymaker are having a significant role in shaping a carbon neutral or a net zero situation on its country. So could you explain what is ASEAN's existing conditions on its climate governance? What is the situation that has been facing by ASEAN today?
So Huyang, could you take this question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question. And I think that ASEAN countries have done a good job of the climate governance, especially in the exchange of the experience, information, and the establishment of the cross-border cooperation mechanisms. That is why we are here today, I think. And however, I think the actual situation are not very encouraging. And according to our research, according to our results, ASEAN's total carbon emissions have been increasing at a steady rate. This may be due to several obstacles, such as ASEAN's continued high dependence on the fossil fuels and the lack of the advanced energy infrastructure and the lack of the sustainable energy supply and the green energy supply. So I think if the ASEAN countries could tackle the obstacles in the future, they can do the climate governance better, I think. That's all.
Okay, great. And we are also having our fellow from Norwegian Institute of International Affairs here, Prof. Indra. Hi, Prof. Indra. Do you have any comments regarding the presentation or research? Because Prof. Indra is also have a long experience in climate governance in ASEAN countries, and also our partner in doing the ASEAN climate change and energy projects. So Prof. Indra, if you have any additional comments or suggestions regarding the research. Okay, no question or comments. Okay, thank you, Prof. Indra. Will the recording of this webinar be sent to all? The recording will be sent as by requested. So you can keep in touch or reach us through email if you want the recording session. But the result of or the reportage of the session will publish online on our website. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Hu, for explaining that we are the actual situation are not very encouraging for ASEAN to promote or to have a real action towards the climate mitigation. So what is the best way to bridge, as you mentioned in your research, the energy and innovation into the policy making process so that we will have more wide impact to the region?
I can take this question. But back to the first question, I would like to add one thing on the Hu Yang's the comments about the current situation of the climate governance. But I want to really address like today's discussion hosted by ACE. Actually, that's one like this the display of the climate governance from our academia community. So I think that's really give us some like aspiration to bring these audience, no matter where are you from or what are your backgrounds, and but bring all of them to discuss and understand the issues existing in the real world in ASEAN countries. So I think that's already a progress have been made by ACE and Indira's invitation. So that's the thing I would like to address here. And okay, so go to the question Indira raised out about the best way to bridge the energy innovation in the policy making process. So yeah, I think that's also very interesting and also important, but quite a hard question to find the best way, especially in the policy making process. I think for the policy making, maybe take the government side as example. There will be two ways to give some like these policy tools to take on the energy transition. The first is the soft infrastructure. The second is the hard infrastructure. As we mentioned before, like the soft infrastructure would be, the national governance in each country, like, even this is like the association or community in the 10 countries, but still each country will have their own development national levels plans to reach the goals that must be different. But how to do that after we made these national development plans, so that will be attributed to the national government capacity buildings and the governance, the good governance, like and that's from the like the institutional arrangements, to really build in the internal of the country to strengthen and to take the real action into these issues. And another is the hard infrastructure, still, because I did some work before on infrastructure, like the railway construction in East Africa, and also like the Jakarta-Bandung railway construction. I think the government also try to, to do some like these investments or the infrastructure constructions in Indonesia, for example. And apart from that, like the energy, the electricity, like I have been to these villages in Africa, and many of these people in rural areas cannot access to the electricity. So the electricity, the energy infrastructure, especially like this the grid nets in rural areas. In Jakarta, I know everyone can access to electricity, but how about in the rural areas, very remote areas? There are still these same in China, where in the western part of China, and there is huge difference between the east of China and the west of China. There are still a lot of poor people here in the village, in the mountain, and they cannot access the electricity. So it's the same scenario, it's the same situation. So how to meet the gap, or to shorten the difference between the rich and the poor? I think that's also very neat, from the government side to, first, at least we have to access the electricity or the energy. Then we can see, okay, how to, go to the next step to be more green. If there is no even electricity to be accessed, then how to mention the green, more sustainable. I think for me, because this is also a discussion from myself and my supervisor. He was the Director General of the Center of International Forestry Research based in Bogor. He also raised out the same perspectives, like it's bottom up or top down. So, the national governments will have this kind of national level. First, from the global level, they will have this Paris Agreement or COP26 or COP28, and then go to the national level in each country. They will have their own development plans, but then they will go to like state level and then very local community. So towards the local community, how they can send their feedbacks towards to the global level. So it's kind of like the circle. Is it real like circle? And these local communities' consideration, their benefits or their interests have been really put into consideration when they negotiate at the very top level, like the global level or national level. I think that's a common problem in many different developing countries, including China. So that's my question to what's the best way to bridge the energy innovation to have wider impacts, because we still need to consider, largest population, not just a few, in any country. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Weng. You just emphasized that we need to push the bottom up and also collaborative top down approach just to have a comprehensive action and also a total movement of climate action regarding the climate governance. And you also emphasize the importance of having soft and hard infrastructure. In this case, soft infrastructures means there should be a solid policy and also the capacity building that supports to improve the competencies in between the communities and also the people itself that is involved in the climate action or climate related sector. And for the hard infrastructure, you also emphasize that we also need to have adequate technology that is supporting the acceleration of energy transition, and also other might be institutions or governmental initiatives to support it as well. And I see in the discussion, there is a question from M. Shidik. Energy and climate are strongly related. In terms of integrating energy governance and climate governance together are something challenges. Do you have any experience on how China or other countries are integrating the energy climate governance together to ensure the integration are well implemented?
Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, so I like to share some experience, like how China have done before, because I had this kind of personal experience when I just came back from Australia, oh my God, like 7 or 8 years ago, and it was like the worst air pollution that time when I came back to China, especially in this very big city like in Beijing. It was in 2015. So that China has really high speed economic growth over the past 20 years, have maintained more than 10% GDP economic growth. But in the meanwhile, and the environmental pollution was devastating during the process of pushing the economic growth. So the government, because we really personally experienced that, and including the government, the leaders, and the public civil society. So the government did a lot of these precautions and measures since 2015, as far as I remember, to take on the environmental pollution issues the first, because at the time I was in Beijing and they stopped all the coal consumption in north part of China, because in north part of China it's very cold in the winter season, and everyone has their heaters inside their rooms, and most of the heaters are like they are consumed by the coal minerals. So at the time, China, the government stopped the coal consumption and the coal extraction in northern part of China, like surrounding Beijing. So there were some like this economic slowing down. If there are some like short term, you will have this kind of transition, not just the energy resource. Because of the energy resource transition, definitely they will have some like influence on the economic growth. So at the time, we took some measures and these policy tools to stop this environmental pollution, and it seems like we experienced that, and the environmental are largely got improved after the governmental tackle on these coal, like this kind of fossil fuel consumption. And also we have some like these measures to stop the car driving, like we have to lottery the number your driving license. We have the lottery, like you only can drive your car Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, and then the other days you have to take public transportation. First, because the traffic jam, and the second is because, of course, the environmental pollution. So the government did a lot of the measures to first, stop the environmental pollution since 2015, and it really worked out. And then for the energy transition, as China's slow down the economic growth, and also draw the lessons over the past 10 years, we have like very fast growth, but it's kind of at the sacrifice of the environmental quality to some extent. So now our national government is driving our economy to be more sustainable and green. So how to do that, like to transform the energy from the fossil fuel relied to the clean energy? First is we participated, or we actively adopt these global agreements, such as the Paris Agreement, the COP20. So we really participate actively and support, like be a very a participant in the global conventions. And the second is we are also invest large of these capitals to drive the technology advances to be utilized into the energy transition, like this clean energy automobile manufacturing, like BYD. Because when I was in Indonesia, and many of local friends also mentioned the BYD, the Chinese leading automobile manufacturing car, is also focusing on this clean energy car manufacturing. So both from these initiatives at the global level towards to the national government level, these governments also, keep moving and keep progress of their energy transition, and learning from the past experiences, from the past lessons on tackling the climate change, with their policy tools. So that is basic my understanding, or some sorts on the question raised by Shidi. Yeah, so hopefully I have answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. I believe your answer quite answered perfectly what Shidik meant to be, because if I can summary your answer, you emphasize that it was all driven by first the global commitment, how China is involved in a global or world discussion on the energy transition and accelerating the to have a coal power plant transition to be more clean and greener, which drive the China governments to shape new policies or action to move towards the net zero. And it is
Yes.
also and it is also implemented by how China is continuously investing on a lot of clean energy projects, especially within the ASEAN country, because how we know how China is always have supporting ASEAN to accelerate their energy transition project in terms of giving the capital itself. So I also agree with your opinion on this, and I believe if this effort is comprehensively done by all ASEAN countries, we also can achieve the net zero as by what we aimed based on the national documents in ASEAN region. So, Shidik, I hope that answered your question best. So, I think because it is already the time, because we have a limited time, so I believe question from Shidik is seen as the closing question for this session. But before I close this session, I would like to summarize what we have discussed during this afternoon. So the research from Ms. Hu Yang and Dr. Wang emphasized on how the carbon emissions or the population, economic, and technological aspect are highly impacted the carbon emissions that is emitted in ASEAN region. And in this case, they explain that there is a gap between the policy and also the action itself in ASEAN, and this gap might lead ASEAN to have or not reaching their net zero target. However, within the comparison between each model that has been done in the research, it is emphasized that if ASEAN can reduce about almost 22% of the utilization of fossil fuel, then we could achieve the net zero target that has been determined by each country or ASEAN region. And they also emphasized on international energy innovation assistance, regional collaborative governance, and multi-stakeholder negotiation as a promising approach for the government and multi-stakeholder collaboration itself to move towards a net zero future. So within the discussion, Dr. Wang and Ms. Hu Yang also explain more on how the actual situation in ASEAN are not very encouraging. Therefore, we need to push the policy itself and also the capacity building within the ASEAN countries to move together in achieving the net zero future of ASEAN countries. So everyone, before I close this session, maybe Dr. Wang and Ms. Hu Yang have several closing statements for this session.
Maybe Hu Yang can be first. I'll wrap it in the end.
Okay. Okay, So what is the question?
Short comments, just a conclusion, anything
short
you want to say in the
comments.
last 1
Okay.
minute.
I'm so happy to join this, and it is really a good chance for me to share my ideas with you. And you know, I'm just a student, and some of my ideas are not not that good, I think. So I think it is really chance to let me to face the challenge, and to think more about the climate governance, and it will help me to do more academic learning about the governance, and the maybe the energy transition in the ASEAN countries. I think it's a good chance and a good experience for me. And thank you for all of you. That's all.
Yeah, so thank you. Firstly, I would like really thank you, Indira, for this very precious opportunity to present our research work. And it's just in the very beginning of our research. And in the future, we will try to, we'll still focus on the sustainability issues in ASEAN countries, taking Indonesia as, the case country study, and some others. And also, I would like to maintain the connection with ACE, and hopefully I can come to visit you in the future with my students. And the second, I would like to thank you, my student, because she is a leading author, and she really worked hard on her research topic. And then finally we get this journal article published. And so really thank my student. And the third is really thankful all these audience attendance today to have this kind of very active and friendly interaction. Hopefully, we also can, keep the collaboration and discussion through emails and, any ways in the future. So thank you. Or yeah, that's my current conclusion remarks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much for Dr. Wang and Ms. Hu Yang for sharing your insightful perspectives from China and how it related to ASEAN countries. So everyone, thank you for your active participations and unwavering dedication to advance our knowledge sharing and dissemination on energy and climate nexus. I'm Indira signing off, and thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, Indira. Bye bye.